I'm Lucy Jackson, Assistant Professor in Ancient Greek Literature.
I'm Erin Lee, Head of Archive at the National Theatre.
In this series of films, Erin and I will be looking at some of the Greek tragedies that have been staged at the National Theatre. Using the records held in the theatre's archive as a starting point, we'll look at the practicalities of staging an ancient Greek play in a modern theatre building.
The archive is home to thousands of items, from photographs to prompt scripts, technical drawings to set models, dating all the way back to our opening night in 1963. Every production has left behind some traces of the multiple artistic choices and practical considerations that go into making a performance.
By exploring these plays as staged productions, rather than as pieces of literature, we begin to see these ancient works in a new light. Going behind the scenes of the productions makes us ask fresh questions about why these plays and their myths are still relevant today.
Katie Mitchell directed Euripides' Women of Troy in the Lyttelton Theatre in 2007. The set was designed by Bunny Christie, the lighting designers were Polly Constable and John Clark, and the sound designer was Gareth Fry.
The play presents us with a group of women, including the Trojan queen Hecuba, being held as prisoners, waiting to hear what will happen to them now their city has been captured by the Greeks. Also being held nearby is Helen, the wife of the Greek general Menelaus, and the woman blamed for causing the Trojan War.
The play is an excruciating picture of how loss is felt and endured. The loss of a city, a home, children and grandchildren, a loss of a future. It is a play that is uncompromising, forcing audiences to look at what is left when a war is supposedly over.
The records held in the archive give us an exquisitely detailed picture of the creative process for this production.
Students of Katie Mitchell's method of directing will know that establishing the time and place for the action of any play is a central part of that method. What we learn by looking at these extensive records is the level of detail that goes in to establish where we are and what events surround the action of the play.
There's a mention in the production notes of how the cast is told before each performance begins what the time is in Troy, where the play is set.
There are also detailed schedules showing exactly what has happened since the fall of the city, as well as longer timelines for each character. The work to establish these timelines would have been part of the rehearsal process.
The set itself consists of a warehouse near industrial docks, with 2 levels connected by ladders and external staircases. We find pictures of these kinds of dockside warehouse spaces in the production files and can see how they inspired elements in Bunny Christie's set design, down to specifics like the kinds of locks on the doors. Katie Mitchell talks about this in the platform discussion.
All of these would make minuscule adjustments throughout the whole show to what they do. But pretty minuscule, but then it's a fine art. So a lot of the beauty of the art is in the minuscule adjustment.
True to the principle of creating a space where actors could be fully immersed in the world of the play, the bathroom on the left-hand side of the stage had a plumbed-in toilet. One of the reviewers even commented on how jarring it was to be able to see right inside this bathroom from the auditorium and be faced with a working loo.
But the detail doesn't only extend to what might be seen by even just a few of the audience members. We read in the production notes that there would be a bucket on the mezzanine level, intended to act as a rudimentary toilet for Helen being held there, and that this bucket would have urine in it. This was a prop that would never be seen by the audience. The fact that it was still an essential part of the set shows how crucial that 360-degree sense of place and space is in the Mitchell method of directing.
As we have seen in other Katie Mitchell productions, movement and dance are used to expand the symbolic and emotional impact of the play. In the production recording of Women of Troy, we can get a close look at how this works. There are moments of slow motion, there are choreographed dances, as well as hyper-realistic responses to shock or trauma, like shaking, a sudden stillness, or collapse.
We can also listen out for how sound is being used to achieve a similar extension of symbolic and emotional impact in this production.
The prompt script tells us about the different sounds used to help locate the action of the play for the audience. We are meant to imagine being close to the sea in an industrial environment, and so we read about the ongoing drone of machinery interspersed with the cries of seagulls or a ship's horn.
As well as these sound effects, there are other, more abstract sounds. Katie Mitchell talks about her collaboration with the sound designer Gareth Fry in the platform discussion.
We were very influenced very early on in our working relationship by a film by a Russian film director called Klimov, and it was called Come and See. And he used sound, Klimov did, in the most extraordinary way to underscore all of the action.
There's flies, aren't there, in that film? That's the sound I remember. There's a long
And there's a
long
terrifying
run.
shot. Two children turn up in a wooden house, which is the family home of one of the children. And all the doors are open, and the soup is still on the table. And they sit to eat, and then the little girl throws up because there is something wrong, and the flies start to buzz.
The sound effect of flies, which Katie talks about, is used here in The Women of Troy to suggest what's been going on around these women. The Greek army is in the middle of committing a genocide. It is through this sound effect that the staggering atrocities happening off stage are brought on stage.
Going through the records of this production in the archive, we get a sense, once again, of how a play is so much more than just the single performance we might see. We, in the audience, only glimpse one part of the much bigger and more horrifying world of the play.
The National Theatre Archive really is a unique resource that allows you to get up close to all these incredible productions and unlock interpretations of classic texts that perhaps you'd never considered before.
Anyone can book a time to access the resources of the National Theatre's archive by contacting us via our website.